When a man is obsessed but pretending not to be, the first place it always shows is in his attention. Attention is never accidental. A man does not consistently notice, remember, or track someone he feels nothing for. He might claim he is laid back, unbothered, or emotionally unavailable, but his mind will keep returning to the same person again and again. That repetition is obsession in its earliest form. Men are goal-oriented by nature. Their focus goes where their interest lies. If his focus keeps landing on you, even when he tries to act indifferent, that tells you more than any words ever could. You'll notice his attention in small, quiet ways before it ever becomes obvious. He remembers details you casually mentioned, things you didn't even think were important. He recalls how you take your coffee, what makes you laugh, what annoys you, what you're insecure about. He might pretend he forgot, but when the moment comes, he proves he didn't. Memory is emotional storage. Men do not store information about women they don't care about. If he's remembering you, he's mentally investing in you. Attention also shows up in observation. He notices changes in you before others do. Your mood shifts. Your energy feels different. Your replies are shorter. Your tone changes, and suddenly he's aware. He might not ask directly, but his behavior adjusts. He becomes quieter, more alert, or strangely more present. That awareness doesn't come from coincidence. It comes from watching. A man who is obsessed but hiding it watches closely because he doesn't want to miss anything that could signal closeness or distance. Another powerful sign is how he reacts to your absence. When you're not around, his attention doesn't relax, it intensifies. He may not text immediately, but he checks your social media. He notices when you don't post. He wonders where you are and who you're with. Men who don't care forget you exist when you're gone. Men who are obsessed feel the silence. They feel the gap. And even if they don't reach out right away, that mental pull stays active. Sometimes his attention shows up as overthinking. He replays conversations in his head. He analyzes what you meant by a certain word or look. He wonders if he said the wrong thing or not enough. Obsession doesn't always look dramatic. Often it looks like quiet mental loops. He pretends he's fine, but internally he's rehearsing moments with you, imagining future conversations, or worrying about how he appears in your eyes. You'll also see attention in how he prioritizes you without admitting it. He says he's busy, but somehow he responds faster to you than to others. He claims he doesn't plan things, yet he remembers when you're free. He pretends he's spontaneous, but his schedule subtly adjusts around your availability. That kind of alignment isn't accidental. It's subconscious commitment. Even when a man resists emotional labeling, his time management reveals his truth. A man who is obsessed but hiding it often knows more about your life than he should. He knows who you spend time with, what stresses you, what goals you're chasing. He may never say, "I care," but his awareness speaks for him. He listens more than he admits. He files information away, waiting for the right moment to use it, reference it, or protect you with it. That depth of awareness comes from emotional attachment, not casual interest. Attention can also turn protective before it turns romantic. He gives advice even when you didn't ask. He warns you about people or situations. He shows concern for your safety, your emotions, your decisions. He frames it as logic or common sense, but underneath it is attachment. Protection is a form of emotional investment. Men protect what they value, even if they're not ready to claim it publicly. There's also a physical dimension to attention. His eyes linger longer than necessary. He notices your expressions, your body language, the way you move. Even when he's pretending to be relaxed, his body betrays him. He leans in, mirrors your posture, or orients himself toward you in group settings. That unconscious attention is instinctive. You can't fake indifference at the body level for long. What makes this kind of attention confusing is that it's often paired with denial. He downplays his interest. He jokes it off. He acts detached in words while staying deeply engaged in behavior. That contradiction creates mixed signals, But the key is always consistency. Words fluctuate. Attention doesn't. If his focus keeps returning to you across time, situations, and moods, that's obsession trying to stay hidden. Men who are truly uninterested conserve their mental energy. They don't analyze, remember, monitor, or adjust. They don't track your emotional weather. They don't notice when you pull back. They don't feel unsettled by your silence. Obsession, even when denied, is restless. It keeps a man mentally connected long before he's brave enough to be emotionally honest. So when you're trying to understand whether a man is obsessed but pretending not to be, don't listen too closely to what he says. Watch where his attention goes when he thinks no one is looking. Watch what he remembers, what he notices, what he reacts to, and what he can't seem to ignore. Attention is the most honest language a man speaks, and it always reveals the truth before his words ever do. When a man is obsessed but pretending not to be, the second place it shows is in inconsistency. Inconsistency is not confusion about you. It is conflict within him. It is the tension between what he feels and what he wants to admit. Men are often taught to control emotion, to stay composed, to avoid vulnerability until they are certain. When strong feelings arrive before certainty, behavior starts to wobble. That wobble is inconsistency, and it is one of the clearest signs of hidden obsession. One moment he is warm, present, engaged, and curious. He listens closely, responds quickly, and seems emotionally available. Then suddenly he pulls back. He becomes distant, slower to reply, less expressive. This shift can feel personal, but it rarely is. It is usually the moment when he realizes he's getting too attached and tries to regain control. Pulling away is his way of convincing himself that he is still in charge of his emotions. A man who is not invested is consistent in his indifference. He stays neutral because there is nothing at stake. But a man who is obsessed experiences emotional spikes. When he feels close to you, he moves toward you. When he feels vulnerable, he retreats. That back and forth creates confusion, but it is not accidental. It is the rhythm of someone who cares more than he wants to admit. You might notice that his distance never lasts as long as he intends. He says he needs space, yet he reappears with a message, a question, or a casual check-in. He claims he is busy, but finds reasons to reconnect. This is because obsession does not tolerate separation well. Even when he pulls away to protect his ego, the emotional pull brings him back. Distance is temporary when desire is real. His inconsistency often increases after moments of emotional closeness. A deep conversation, shared laughter, vulnerability, or intimacy triggers awareness. He feels exposed, and exposure scares him. Instead of leaning in, he steps back. That retreat is not rejection, it is self-defense. Men who are pretending not to care often become distant right after they feel the most. Inconsistency can also show up in how he communicates. Some days he opens up and shares personal thoughts. Other days he keeps things surface level. This fluctuation happens because emotional honesty feels good, but it also feels risky. When he allows himself to connect, he enjoys it. When he reflects on it later, he worries about losing control, so he alternates between closeness and restraint. Another layer of inconsistency is unpredictability. He may surprise you with affection or attention when you least expect it, then disappear when you assume he will stay. This keeps you guessing, but it also reveals his inner struggle. A man who has resolved his feelings behaves steadily. A man fighting them sends mixed signals. Inconsistency is also visible in effort. Sometimes he goes out of his way for you, offering help, advice, or time. Other times he seems passive or detached. This uneven effort reflects his internal debate. Part of him wants to invest. Another part fears the consequences of doing so. That fear can be about rejection, loss of freedom, or emotional dependence. The third key sign of hidden obsession is jealousy, especially the kind that tries to disguise itself. When a man is obsessed, but pretending not to be. He rarely announces jealousy outright. Instead, it leaks out in tone, questions, and subtle shifts in behavior. He may tease, make offhand comments, or suddenly show heightened interest when another man enters the picture. Watch how his energy changes when you mention someone else. His body language tightens. His humor becomes sharper. His curiosity becomes specific. He asks questions that seem casual but carry weight. Who is he? How do you know him? Are you close? These are not random inquiries. They are attempts to measure threat and position. Jealousy activates attention and effort. A man who seemed distant suddenly becomes present again when he senses competition. He texts more. He checks in. He reminds you of his presence without directly stating his feelings. This is instinctive. Competition forces him to confront what he might lose, and that realization pushes obsession closer to the surface. Sometimes jealousy shows up as criticism. He downplays the other man's qualities or questions his intentions. He frames it as concern or honesty, but the underlying emotion is possessiveness. Men do not feel possessive over women they are emotionally detached from. Possessiveness grows from attachment even when unclaimed. Jealousy can also appear as withdrawal. Instead of competing, he may pull back when he feels threatened. This happens when insecurity overrides confidence. He assumes he might lose, so he distances himself to avoid the pain. Yet even in withdrawal, his attention remains fixed on you. He watches from a distance, waiting for reassurance or an opening. A man who is not obsessed does not react strongly to rivals. He does not monitor, compare, or feel unsettled by your interactions with others. Indifference is calm. Jealousy, even subtle jealousy, is emotional involvement trying to hide itself. When inconsistency and jealousy appear together, they tell a clear story. He cares deeply, but has not accepted it yet. His behavior swings because his emotions are ahead of his readiness. He is attached, but resisting ownership of that attachment. That resistance creates mixed signals, but it also reveals the truth. Understanding this allows you to see behavior without personalizing confusion. His hot and cold actions and quiet jealousy are not games, they are symptoms of internal conflict. Obsession does not always look bold. Sometimes it looks hesitant, guarded, and contradictory. But it always leaves a trail, and inconsistency and jealousy are two of the clearest signs that a man is far more emotionally invested than he pretends to be. When a man is obsessed but pretending not to be, control disguised as concern becomes one of the clearest signals. This kind of behavior often appears subtle, almost caring, which is why it's easy to overlook. He doesn't come across as demanding or possessive on the surface. Instead, he frames his interest as responsibility, logic, or protection. But underneath that calm exterior is a strong emotional attachment trying to manage uncertainty. He starts by asking questions that seem harmless. Where are you going? Did you get home safe? Who were you with? At first, these questions feel thoughtful. Over time, you notice a pattern. He asks often. He asks consistently. And his interest increases when your availability decreases. This is not casual curiosity. It is reassurance-seeking behavior. He needs to know where he stands, even if he refuses to define the relationship. A man who is not emotionally invested does not monitor. He does not track routines or notice deviations. He does not feel unsettled by unanswered messages or delayed replies. But when obsession is present, silence feels loud. Instead of admitting vulnerability, he looks for control. Control gives the illusion of stability. If he knows what you're doing, where you are, and who you're with, his anxiety decreases. Concern also shows up in advice that borders on instruction. He tells you what you should do, who you should trust, and what situations to avoid. He may say he's just being honest or looking out for you. But notice the emotional charge behind his words. His tone changes when you resist his guidance. His concern intensifies when you assert independence. That reaction reveals attachment. People who don't care, don't feel threatened by autonomy. Another sign is emotional checking. He gauges your mood frequently, sometimes without directly asking. He pays attention to your tone, your emojis, your energy. If you seem distant, he becomes uneasy. He may reach out under the excuse of needing something or sharing something minor. The real purpose is emotional confirmation. He wants to know that the connection still exists. Control disguised as concern can also appear as timing sensitivity. He notices when your habits change. You reply later than usual. You post at different times. You go quiet. These shifts trigger him. He doesn't accuse, but he probes. His questions become more frequent, more specific. This isn't about information. It's about reassurance that he hasn't lost his place in your life. The fourth key signal of hidden obsession is emotional leakage. No matter how carefully a man tries to hide his feelings, emotion eventually escapes. It comes out in moments he doesn't plan. A sudden compliment, a protective reaction, an uncharacteristic outburst, a look that lingers too long. Emotional leakage happens when restraint fails. You may notice moments when his guard drops unexpectedly. He becomes softer, more open, more expressive. He might share something personal or show vulnerability without realizing it. Then almost immediately he pulls back or acts like it didn't happen. That swing is revealing. It shows that the emotion is real but unregulated. Emotional leakage often shows up under stress. When he's tired, upset, or distracted, his true feelings surface. He reacts more strongly to your presence or absence. He becomes more honest, more reactive, less controlled. Stress lowers defenses and obsession slips through. Alcohol, exhaustion, or emotional pressure can amplify this. He says things he wouldn't normally say. He expresses concern, admiration, or attachment more clearly. Later, he may deny or minimize it. But the moment already told the truth. What comes out unfiltered is often what's been held in the longest. Another form of emotional leakage is overreaction. Small things trigger big responses. A delayed reply feels heavier than it should. A casual comment hits deeper. These reactions aren't about the situation itself. They're about the emotional weight he's carrying. Obsession magnifies sensitivity. You might also notice contradictions between his words and his reactions. He claims he doesn't care, yet his mood shifts based on your behavior. He says he's detached, but he's affected. Emotional neutrality doesn't produce strong reactions. Emotional investment does. Even humor can become a leak. Jokes with an edge. Teasing that carries tension. Sarcasm that hides insecurity. Humor becomes a safe outlet for feelings he doesn't want to claim directly. Beneath the laughter is emotional exposure. What ties control disguised as concern and emotional leakage together is fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of rejection. Fear of needing someone too much. Instead of naming the feeling, he manages it indirectly. He monitors. He advises. He reacts. He leaks. A man who has no emotional attachment doesn't struggle like this. He doesn't need reassurance. He doesn't leak emotion. He doesn't care enough to control or hide. Obsession creates pressure, and pressure always finds a release point. When you understand these behaviors, you stop questioning your perception. You recognize that concern without boundaries and emotion without admission are not accidents. They are signs of someone deeply affected but not yet honest with himself. Obsession does not require confession to exist. It shows itself through control, concern, and the emotional moments that escape no matter how hard he tries to contain them. When a man is obsessed but pretending not to be, the final and often most revealing set of behaviors appears in how he positions himself in your life without openly claiming you. This kind of obsession is quiet but strategic. He does not declare his feelings, yet he slowly inserts himself into your world in ways that make him difficult to replace. This is not accidental. It is an unconscious attempt to secure emotional closeness while avoiding vulnerability. He makes himself useful. He offers help, solutions, and support, even when you didn't ask. If you have a problem, he wants to fix it. If you're stressed, he wants to calm it. If something in your life is unstable, he positions himself as the steady presence. Men bond through usefulness. When a man repeatedly tries to be needed, he is emotionally invested. A man who feels nothing does not volunteer energy consistently. You may notice that he becomes your go-to person in subtle ways. He encourages you to rely on him, but without labeling the connection. He responds quickly when you reach out. He shows up when others don't. Over time, his presence becomes familiar, almost automatic. This creates emotional dependence even if neither of you names it. Obsession often seeks closeness through routine rather than declaration. Another sign is how he reacts when you start pulling away. Even if he pretends not to care, his behavior changes. He increases contact. He becomes more attentive. He finds reasons to reconnect. Distance threatens the invisible bond he has built in his mind. Instead of expressing fear, he compensates with effort. That effort is revealing. Men do not fight to maintain access to women they are indifferent toward. He also subtly tests your availability. He drops hints, suggestions, or casual invitations. He watches how you respond. Do you make time? Do you prioritize him? These tests help him measure his emotional importance without directly asking. Obsession wants confirmation, but pride avoids direct questions. So he gathers evidence quietly. Another powerful indicator is how he positions himself against potential replacements. He may not openly compete, but he differentiates himself. He highlights what makes him reliable, loyal, or different from others.